Thank you very much, Greg, and good day to everyone joining live here today. My name's Harry Evans, as Greg mentioned, and I'm an agribusiness consultant with Bush Agribusiness in Toowoomba. I'm very excited to be talking to you today about our new platform, HerdFlow. I will just turn off my video now to save a bit of bandwidth for those joining remotely, but you still should be able to see my slide and follow through the presentation. We'll turn this back on at the end for question time, so you'll get to see my face again. Bush Agribusiness was founded in 2009, and our purpose is to inform and improve the business decisions of beef producers in Australia. Over this time, we've worked with hundreds of beef businesses of all sizes, from small family operations right up to the large pastoral companies. Personally, I've been re-engaged with the beef supply chain since 2018, but have been exposed to the industry from a young age. I believe we're very fortunate to work in our industry, as it provides both a career and a lifestyle. And whether you have a small operation like my family or manage thousands of head like the companies I've worked for, it is becoming increasingly important for us to track and improve business performance so that we can protect the lifestyle that it provides. Combining these experiences, we at Bush Agri have developed the HerdFlow platform, which addresses one of the biggest challenges we have witnessed. That is obtaining accurate and reconciled herd inventory over time and using that to inform business performance measures. This expands our offering, which currently includes business analysis and consulting, publication of the Australian Beef Report, and the delivery of MLA's Business Edge workshop across Northern Australia. All of these contributing to our purpose. What we'll cover today is why we've built HerdFlow, what exactly it is, and who is it for, and then we'll go through a live demonstration and plenty of time at the end for questions. So why have we done this? Most people and producers you talk to generally have their finger on the pulse, and they know what's currently in a paddock, what their latest preg test result was, or when the majority of their calves are expected to drop. The challenge we've observed, and as we see, an industry gap in providing a reconciled herd inventory. This is usually what your accountant is asking for, but has it been adjusted to reflect what is actually happening on the ground? What is a reconciled herd? Does this equation balance? Do your opening numbers plus natural increase plus purchases, take away sales and deaths equal your closing numbers? And do those closing numbers from one year reflect the opening of the next? It may sound straightforward, but this is one of the biggest stumbling blocks that we see producers facing when trying to piece together herd and business performance. HerdFlow brings that information together and ensures that it flows from one year to the next. And the example I have on the slide shows that not only the total numbers reconcile for the company, but the inventory is reconciled by livestock classification as well. We have the groupings down the left-hand side matched up with the opening for that period, the transactions from left to right, the additions of natural increase, purchases, any transfers, then sales and mortality to come to the closing number at the end of the year. This then moves from one year to the next, and we can start using this reconciled herd to inform our business performance measures. So why do we need to reconcile? If we take a step back for a moment and look at what drives profit in a beef business, I've put up a diagram that we use with our clients and also for participants in MLA's Business Edge workshop. The profit flowchart highlights the key drivers of EBIT or operating profit per animal unit, whether that's AE in the north or DSE for our southern listeners. The darkest shaded metrics in each branch of this hierarchy have the largest impact on the preceding metric when looking at all businesses across our data sets. To explain that a bit more, the income drives profit more than expenses, and productivity drives income more than the price received. The reason we need a reconciled herd is that it provides a critical piece of information called inventory change. Inventory change, whether that's kilograms or dollars, is a difference between your closing and opening inventory at the end of the period. And without it, we cannot calculate the productivity, we cannot calculate our gross profit, and we cannot calculate our operating profit. HerdFlow generates the metrics that underpin gross profit, as well as providing a standardized way of calculating animal units. HerdFlow allows you to compare your performance year on year to help you make decisions or to measure the impact of the decisions that have already been made. Everyone in your business needs to be talking the same language, and this needs to expand across the industry as a whole. Do we know what our performance is right now? And what direction is it going in based on historic performance? So we'll go into what HerdFlow is. I want to acknowledge that as a producer, there's so many existing software and processes already available. They all serve various functions of property management. I know as I've trialed most of these or used some in previous roles. AgTech in Australia is booming right now, and there's been so many great options become available to producers over the last 5 or so years. And this has allowed people to have more visibility on their operation. However, we believe there is a gap at summarising herd data at a property or business level and consistently calculating the key measures, such as kilograms produced, animal units run, reproduction, and gross profit. HerdFlow fills this gap and has been designed to be complementary to the existing software or process that a producer is using. It does not track individuals or paddocks or contain details on animal health or treatments. What it does is provide high-level performance metrics, as mentioned, that allow business and enterprise performance to be understood. But it's not just black and white, and the ambiguity exists in our industry. It leaves a lot of room for grey areas in defining herd classifications and herd performance itself. Is it a weaner or a steer? And when does she stop being a heifer? And these questions are the ones that restrict the ability to produce a reconciled herd. The Australian Herd Classification Guidelines were created by us with industry feedback and are designed to be consistent and complementary to the existing National Bovine Livestock Language Guidelines. They provide producers on the ground and in the paddock a framework to classify livestock that enables inventory to be consistently tracked over time. There are 3 primary attributes recommended by our guidelines. That's the age year, sex, and reproductive status. This formalizes what many of you are already doing. We work with a lot of good beef businesses, and we've observed over time how the ones with the good herd data keep track of their numbers. They use age brands and/or tag colors rather than class names, which removes the need to transfer animals throughout classes in their life. Those producers also ensure that herd records are reconciled over the year in total and by class, and getting their on-the-book number to match their most accurate representation of what's in the paddock. Those producers also then use that to calculate herd performance consistently each year, and they confidently articulate the direction of their business. HerdFlow provides high-level livestock inventory management for the extensive pastoral industry, as Greg mentioned, and it's been developed with co-funding from the MLA Donor Company. It was built upon the Australian Herd Classification Guidelines, which standardise the livestock categorisation and reduce inconsistencies in herd numbers. It also tracks and reconciles herd inventory over time, using this to generate herd performance on company, business unit, and enterprise level. We have been extensively testing the platform all year with our internal clients and also participants in the MB2 program, and we are excited to offer it to the wider industry today. It's an online platform for simple and consistent recording of high-level herd data. It provides users with accurate and accessible herd data and performance measures, and using that to provide insights to make business decisions with confidence. HerdFlow has been designed for all size businesses in the beef supply chain, from small family operations up to the large corporates. The company structure set up within HerdFlow allows for performance to be reported on a company level, by business unit, and for specific enterprises within your beef business. There is no limit to the numbers of users you can add to your company, so why not get the whole family or management team on the same page? HerdFlow reports can be exported to Excel or PDF, but some of our clients have skipped this step and granted third-party access directly to their trusted advisors, bank managers, or accountants. The calculations are transparent so that everyone can have confidence in the data. At the end of the day, it is your information and you're in control to who you share it with. One setting within the system is called the animal production scenario. These allow you to refine and standardize the calculation of animal units and inventory dollars and kilograms. Bush Agribusiness has done a lot of work in standardizing the use and calculation of animal units over the past decade, and we're excited to allow HerdFlow users to access our methodology through HerdFlow. Animal units are important for beef and other livestock enterprises, and they have multiple applications for carrying capacity assessments, property valuations, business analysis, and enterprise analysis, and also for setting forage budgets. Then the inventory weight and value is a critical piece of the puzzle, and it allows us for herd performance to be understood. By applying growth paths inside the platform, we can calculate your inventory weight, value, and your animal unit ratings at any given point in time based on the average age of a drop of calves. This inventory is also used to inform the emissions calculations, which I'll touch on shortly. HerdFlow transactions can be manually entered into the platform for those that do not currently have an existing process. This creates an auditable trail for interested parties, and all transactions are recorded and accessed by those who are granted. Internal transactions are only required to be entered once, and the corresponding movement is recorded automatically for those more complex businesses that are moving animals inside their business. Additionally, transactions can be imported using an Excel file and the syntax template. This brings in transposed data from your existing software or processes. Productivity cannot be accurately calculated if the numbers on the books don't reflect what is actually happening on the ground. We acknowledge that it is more complicated than a stock take at the corner store, although for a multi-million-dollar business, can we afford to not know our inventory? For an industry managing such large assets, it is sometimes surprising to see how many producers cannot present a reconciled herd inventory. Once transactions are entered, the reporting functionality of HerdFlow allows a producer to come in and start making decisions based on their historical performance. The main report available is the HerdFlow Annual Performance Report. This displays the key metrics shown on the slide and some of those which we went through in the profit flow chart earlier. If we know how effective we are at converting grass to kilograms of beef, then we can use this information to inform and improve our decisions into the future. We can also address productivity levers such as reproductive rate and mortality rate, and we can do that with confidence because we have a consistent way to measure the impact of our decisions going forward. Another report is the sales analysis report. This allows you to see how your actual sales and transactions compare to the market at the time using live data from MLA's indicators. Just another way of analyzing and visualizing the data you already have to see where your sales are performing in the market. And the third report I'll touch on today is the emissions reporting. In previous roles, I've spent countless hours transposing data from one platform to another to enable emissions calculations. I've also been talking to multiple others within the industry, and there's currently a large amount of time that's being spent on this task. We at Bush Agribusiness will continue advocating that a beef business should focus on improving productivity and using the measures discussed in the profit flow chart and on the annual performance report. But we also acknowledge that this information is being requested throughout the supply chain, and we have incorporated the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory calculations into HerdFlow so that on top of the key herd performance metrics, you can also gain an estimate of herd emissions using the same data set at the click of a button. The calculations and logic have also been independently verified by CSIRO and check that they align with the industry SB-GAF calculator. If you bear with me, I'll now change my screen to the online web platform and go through a couple of slides and examples of what you will see when you access the system. So the homepage of HerdFlow shows a current stock on hand for any period selected by the user. What we can see in our demo company is a company with 2 business units and both a breeding and growing enterprise. This is spread over 2 locations. Down the left-hand side, similar to our stock return that I showed on the first slide, we have the animal grouping. These are built on the Australian herd classification guidelines and group animals by their sex, their age year, and their reproductive status. This is a point-in-time piece of information and is normally the piece of information that most people can quote when you drive through their front gate or are talking to them. That's just the starting point. Next, we go to the assumptions that I mentioned that help inform the animal units and inventory weight calculations. The growth paths can be set up using default production zones across Australia, or for those who have a more accurate grasp on their specific production environment, you can customize these to inform not only the growth path, but the energy use and the animal unit ratings across your herd. All of this is transparent, and we want to give producers the most information to make a decision this year and know that the metrics they will report next year are applied with a consistent methodology, but also that they can see where the calculations are coming from. Once the setup has been undertaken for your company, you can start the transaction entry process. As I mentioned, this can be done manually using the green buttons for the smaller and less transaction size companies. We can also import in data using our template and our syntax guidelines to transpose data from your existing platform. As I mentioned, this is high level on a business unit and enterprise level. So we're looking at the transactions which affect the stock return and which help inform and generate that reconciled inventory. At the end of the period, once all transactions are entered, as I mentioned, we want to record that and reconcile it against the actual count on your paddock book or in your paddocks. So HerdFlow allows that reconciliation and adjustment to be made at the end of the period, and it ensures that the numbers going forward, the closing from one year, can be reflective and most accurate for your opening for the next. Once those reclassifications and reconciliations are performed, you can come to the report section and select the annual performance report. Right now, we're looking at the whole company for the demo company, which, as I mentioned, has multiple enterprises and 2 locations. We can see that they produce 99 kilograms of beef per AE. This can be customized in company setup to reflect DSE for those southern producers. So the animal units are used throughout the system. Also, all the bubbles that show green and any numbers that are green allow you to click through and gain more information and transparency on the calculations. So looking at the average animal unit, or AE for this example, we can click through and see the monthly AE calculation for this business and also their annualized number. This monthly data is only available for the premium subscription, but the annualized AE is available for all users, and the annualized AE is the one that impacts our annual performance. On this same screen, we can also see the herd composition. So we can see that this business has 65% reproducing animals. We can also see that there's 45 or 46% breeding age females. This allows you to track your herd profile over time, and if your business also includes growing animals, we can see the impact of and risk management decision making of the buffer of dry animals that are available to sell. Back to the report, as I mentioned, we can also run these reports on a more granular level for business units or for enterprises within your business. This generates the same report and the same metrics, but can allow you to compare breeding to growing, or can allow you to compare one property to another based on the performance metrics generated here. Underneath the HerdFlow metrics, we have the gross profit calculation. Gross profit being the main driver of EBIT, or operational profit, in a beef business. This here has the sales in head, kilograms and dollars, similar for purchases, but the critical piece of the puzzle that HerdFlow provides is the inventory change piece. This allows the producer to see whether there's been a herd build up or sell down, and the performance is reflective of that inventory change. Underneath the gross profit table, again, as I had in the slide, we've got the reconciled stock return, which can also be accessed as a standalone report, just to track head numbers across that business unit or enterprise. As I mentioned, this is the main part and main report in the system. Using these numbers can help inform future decisions, but also track decisions made in previous periods. The last report I wanted to show you today is the herd emissions report. As I mentioned, we have used the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory calculations and our reconciled herd inventory, acknowledging we have growth paths and inventory weights throughout the year, to inform the inventory calculations and herd emissions attributable to the company or the specific business unit. We acknowledge that this is only information for herd emissions, but for beef breeding businesses, this is accounting for 70 to 80% of the emissions of that business. We do acknowledge that there's other emissions within the business, so we have developed a downloadable tool to bring in those inputs, scope 2 and scope 3, to generate the whole business number, and also using our kilograms of production to calculate your emissions intensity. So once you've closed off your period and generated your herd emissions, which is the majority of emissions for a beef business, you can download our Excel tool, and the grey fields are numbers coming directly from HerdFlow. These numbers, and from talking to others trying to gain emissions insights, these grey numbers are generally the ones that take the most time to compile and are the most time consuming. So by getting this information directly from HerdFlow, a producer or service provider can come in and just fill in the additional data input, which is just asking questions on the inputs for the business, which generates the remaining scope 2 and scope 3 emissions. Back to HerdFlow, we've got the performance, the sales analysis, which shows the performance of your sales against the market at the time, the stock return, which is the reconciled piece of information from opening to closing. This reconciled stock return informs the inventory calculations and your inventory change, and that then flows through so that we can see how many kilograms you've produced for the year, how many animal units you achieve that on, and the gross profit for those animal units. I'll now flick back to my presentation. So in summary, HerdFlow provides standardized metrics with a consistent methodology, and these enable you to increase the confidence of the decisions you're making within your business. For the question that you're probably thinking, and I haven't covered yet, is how do we access this and how much does it cost? HerdFlow is available to trial to enter 1 year of data using the activation code within the MyMLA platform. If you go to the following link, mla.com.au/mymla/HerdFlow, which Greg will circulate in the follow-up email, you can obtain the code to get a trial for your 1 year period of data. You could use this to measure your performance for FY25, which is just finished, or you could set it up to monitor the current year as it unfolds. Additionally, the standard subscription allows for one property and reports on actual transactions only using annualized animal units. In addition to standard, the premium tier has access to the report of budgeted transactions, monthly animal units, as I showed in the demonstration, and the ability to have multiple business units with dual entry for internal transactions. There is a price break for companies with 3 or more of those business units. I acknowledge that there are a lot of service providers also on the call, so if you're interested to learn more or evaluate the platform and don't have access to MyMLA, please reach out to us and we can give you a quick run through of the platform. Have you heard of Flow? We have also invested in an AI assistant that draws on our comprehensive user manual. This supports HerdFlow users to set up and use the platform. We've also developed resources on our website, and our team can be contacted at any time using the herdflow@bushagri.com.au email. I'll just show you an example of that AI assistant. If I go to the platform, which should come up shortly, there's a question mark in the top right-hand corner. I'll ask the platform, how do I import transactions? It draws on our comprehensive user guide and gives the user some quick steps onto how to do it, but then also references the user manual, which takes you to a comprehensive step-by-step guide to doing that step. I'll bring back up my PowerPoint. So I'll now pass back to Greg. I've left enough time here for plenty of questions